The new home for all the best racing and all the top tracks is OTB TV Digital Channel 8.2, delivering each day the best racing across the country and around the world. Whether it's Saratoga or Belmont here in New York, Florida's Gulfstream Park, or California's Del Mar and Santa Anita racecourses, no other network brings you the grandeur of horse racing like OTB TV on Digital Channel 8.2.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, OTB TV is the Capital Region's choice for the most comprehensive and informative coverage of thoroughbred and harness racing. OTB TV is the only area network delivering a steady viewership, reaching more than 540,000 households throughout the broadcast day and into the evening. Capital OTB's digital presence also plays a tremendous part in getting your message in front of potential customers. With more and more wagering moving to online, CapitalOTB.com can put your message in front of thousands of potential customers 24 hours a day. And with the addition of our new mobile app, new customers will see your message on all their digital devices. To see how affordably you can reach thousands of new customers, contact Capital OTB's Sales and Marketing Department today.
You're unbelievable.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead here on this Sunday morning, live from the Saratoga backstretch. Seth Merrow from Equidaily.com, Steve Byk from Sirius and XM's At the Races. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy to have you on board as always. A nice weekend of racing, really coast to coast, which we'll talk about as the morning progresses. But it was a big day here yesterday, and just kind of middle of the day walking around, you had the sense it was a super crowd, 40,000.
40,000 and enthusiastic, excited to see Songbird, and most of them actually stayed until the end. This was a long day. Let's be honest, as they try to make up some races, including the other Grade 1 on the card, the 4-star Dave, and in fact Bill Mott with the first of 2 Grade 1 wins coast to coast, harmonize not long after Tourist's win. In the 4-star Dave, he wins the Del Mar Oaks, so a very big day for Bill Mott. And then, of course, Songbird's primetime effort ahead of the Pacific Classic, the other big race that kind of put a exclamation mark on racing for Saturday across the country. And California Chrome's unbelievable demolition of that field. Maybe I would have to say one of the top efforts in recent memory. A 113 buyer coming back in terms of evaluation, and I think you put that very close to Frosted's Metropolitan. I mean, we are being treated on a regular basis now, weekend after weekend, to outstanding star power. And if everybody, knock on wood, stays healthy, we're going to have a treat for the Breeders' Cup and for the championship lead up to Breeders' Cup like I don't think anybody can recall.
But I heard it mentioned last night. What does it mean for that Pegasus Cup if California Chrome's going? Are they going to get more than 6 horses to show up?
Oh, they'll still come, yeah. People, they'll still come. But, you talk about that, the Pegasus thing with California Chrome. And let's say he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he wins that Pegasus Cup. He's going to amass an amount of money. I mean, he's over $13 million now, right? With 600,000 yesterday, he's over $13 million. Already the record for a North American-born racehorse. what would he get to? Would get another $7.5 million if he wins the Pegasus Cup, and another 4.2. So it could be, he could almost double his earnings. He could end up, if he runs the table, he'll retire with $25 million in earnings.
And they say they do better on the track or they do better off the track than on the track, but not the California Chrome. He's racking it up.
Unbelievable.
With the potential.
Amazing.
And Pegasus, and that's going to be fun to see how that shakes out. But you want to pop in and watch some of the action from the past few days? Yes? Got any news you want to hit on first?
That's why we're here. What do you got?
I was going to go right to the races and talk about those, and then if you have any news, we can pop on that afterwards.
Well, let's tell everybody also what's going to go on, because in terms of Songbird coverage, we'll have Tom McGreevy here later this morning. Tom's going to be our second guest. And McGreevy, of course, the bloodstock agent for ailing Rick Porter, and our hearts and best wishes go out to Rick Porter, who couldn't be here yesterday and is not in good shape. And so the whole industry salutes Rick Porter and sends best wishes. But McGreevy will be here, and he's a little bit of a different kind of a bloodstock agent, has a different approach, strictly picks horses based on their physical, didn't care that Songbird was a Medaglia d'Oro filly. Medaglia d'Oro, so well known for his female get, but McGreevy didn't care about that. He picks horses out, and he's been picking them out for Rick Porter for over a decade, and with a very prescribed budget too. They typically spend $250 to $400, and Porter has had just a string of success, most coming with McGreevy, and he'll join us. He'll talk about his approach. He'll talk about the game in general and his thoughts. Looking forward to that. Lenny Shulman will join us from Blood Horse as well. Lenny in town now through Travers, and we'll get Lenny's thoughts about this past weekend, about the season, and also about Blood Horse's direction right now, of course, being purchased by the Jockey Club, and a little bit of a tumultuous period at the Blood Horse. I'm curious about Lenny's thoughts, given his long-standing career with the magazine. So Lenny Shulman and Tom McGreevy this morning, ahead of conversation about what we've seen here the last few days.
Let's go back to Friday, the Adirondack, the rescheduled Adirondack. We're going to watch the stretch drive. Number 2, Nona Mella gets it done for Todd Pletcher. Silver Tony for Wesley Ward, and Olive Branch runs third in here. But the notable thing is, and I kind of kicked myself afterwards, I had Nona Mella in the mix, but not as high up as probably I should have. Libby's Tail was my pick. Went off as a 3-2 favorite, runs fourth in here. But Todd did this the first weekend in the Schuylerville. Comes up from Monmouth with a horse that probably had to step it up number-wise, and did so. And boy, I mean, look at Nona Mella. She just devastates this field on the same scenario. Had to step it up number-wise off those Monmouth efforts, but this was pretty good. I mean, look how far she is ahead of second place and second ahead of third. So a nice performance by her. Silver Tony, as I say, separated from the third place finisher, so that was a nice run too.
This thing scores out as a 79 buyer. A solid enough effort in the Adirondack. Don't know if who's going to spin back for the spin away, literally. I don't know. I thought it was just okay. The 2-year-olds in general, we've been getting, I think, some more interesting maiden winners right now. Than we are some of the stake players. But a nice win here, for this Arch filly, and Javier Castellano, who has woken up a little bit. Javier had kind of a sleepwalking middle part of the meet, and it feels like here, the last week, 10 days, he's picked things up pretty markedly, and this one of the stake wins, he's winning suddenly 2-3 a day again.
Yeah, and the guy, I pulled the stats up, so these are from maybe 2 or 3 days ago, but the guy I talked about on the handicapping show a couple days ago, who is having a very good meet. Obviously, the Ortiz brothers. And the day I pulled this up was the day after they had tied. They're both sitting at 32. As I say, this was 2 or 3 days ago. And tied for second, Castellano and John Velasquez, who is riding less than these other guys number-wise. So they're shooting around 19%, the Ortiz brothers and Castellano. Velasquez at 24%, given the number of mounts he's had. So he's having a really nice meet as well. But, yeah, the Ortiz brothers kind of on fire. And as you say, Castellano coming back. It's going to be fun as we go down the stretch.
Well, the other notable, just trying to go back from a couple of days, the other notable performers, you did have the 2-year-old. You had the 2-year-olds on the turf, too, in that Bolton Landing, there it is, Conti Partiro, a bit of a blowout win. That was Velasquez for Wesley Ward. And there was the other 2-year-old. There was one more 2-year-old race that stuck in my head. The Skidmore with that Harlan's Harmony and Well-Abled. And Well-Abled, the Larry Ravelli that was up on the lead and just corralled late by Harlan's Harmony for John Terranova and Angel Arroyo. And I thought that was a nice effort. And they were pretty well clear of the also-rans.
And speaking of Larry Ravelli horse, I liked his horse Heartspoke the other day, too. They were both coming off of nice efforts out at Arlington. I thought they'd run well. Heartspoke was a little bit disappointing. Well-Abled ran well. But speaking of Chicago, there was that horse yesterday that took all the money with the 33 workouts. And I had the horse right underneath off of those workouts, but I put the Chad horse on top on the breeding, and it's Klarovich, and because of the 33 workouts, the Chad horse paid, I think, it was 3-1.
Paid $9.90. And in fact, you mentioned that result, and the horse we're talking about was Ingrid Mason coming in, and the horse 747, who was built like a 747, a big oversized horse, and the word had been that that despite his heft, that he was very agile. He seemed to have been worked up, and it didn't seem like the setting and coming in cold like this worked very well. He was never involved and disappointed. But I agree. I was kind of stunned that there would be all this money gravitating. There was also
there was two 33 works, which absolutely jump off the page. If
no
you watch
doubt.
racing enough, and I'm sure that's what folks were keying on. But as I say, then it added value to a runner that otherwise up here at Saratoga would have been a short price. I think you take that Ingrid Mason horse out of the race, and I think the Chad Klarovich runner goes down fairly significantly price-wise.
Well, and in regards to this topic, and I'm just trying to come back and give you the this was the 7th favorable outcome. There's actually a horse today that has worked with favorable outcome and has actually held its own. Okinawa today in the 7th. Okinawa, a 2-year-old filly, has worked with coming out of works with favorable outcome, and that's notable. 80, I think Dave Grenig, I think an 83 buyer, I believe. I'll check that on the break, but I think an 83 buyer for both of the maidens. Speaking of maiden winners from yesterday, how about the ride? Jose Ortiz gave the Brian Lynch runner Oscar performance from the 11 hole. This was a thing of absolute beauty. Got him out, got him to the 2-path on the turn, managed to get away with a 25-second second quarter, and then blasted away from the field. You want to see a textbook performance from on the inner turf where you're compromised being outposted. This was unbelievable. I was applauding.
Yeah.
Standing ovation.
Again, the Ortiz brothers just riding lights out. All right, let's go to some of the other stakes action over the past couple of days. Go back to yesterday. We'll save the Songbird, the Alabama, for our talk with Tom McGreevy. But let's go to the 4-star Dave yesterday. Rescheduled again from the freakish weather last week. I liked Tourist last week. I liked Tourist again yesterday, and Tourist gets it done coming out of the big performance. Big second-place finish out in Southern California, and that was the question mark, going out there and coming back. But makes a nice run here down the stretch. Went off as the second choice at 5-2. The favorite Ring Weekend disappoints. 5-2 favorite, runs 6th in the field at 6. Did not offer much in there. A-Lot runs second. Grand Arch runs third. But again, nice performance from the winner, Joel Rosario, on board.
Well, Midnight Storm, who beat Tourist in the Shoemaker. Midnight Storm comes back today in the Del Mar Mile and is going to be a very short price. Ohm returns for Dan Hendricks. back to stakes company in that Del Mar Mile today. But there's been a couple of winners out of Midnight Storm's last couple of performances. But this is a terrific effort for the WinStar, Adam Wachtel, Niles Brose runner, and obviously Bill Mott with 2 Grade 1 wins on the day. A-Lot, who I was trying to make a case for, and I thought was going to be a nice price, and he was. Castellano, I don't think he necessarily. I don't think if it was by choice. I haven't watched the replay yet, but he ended up a little further back, I think, than he wanted to be. Left him with a little too much to do. But A-Lot actually still made the race. If you bet him that way, used them both ways, you probably did okay. And of course, this race is collapsed a little bit with the 3 scratches. And of course, we understand takeover target scratching in favor of the Bernard Baruch, and it may in fact be a very prescient move by Chad Brown, because we may get some weather, and that turf course may soften up, which is what he happens to like. But Black Type came out of here for Christophe Clement, and Reporting Star didn't show up. Elizabeth Voss, and I would have used Reporting Star in this race. So, kind of reduced your betting scenarios in that 4-star, Dave, with the field cut down to 6.
All right, let's run through the Del Mar races from yesterday, highlighted by the Pacific Classic. But first up was the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. You mentioned it earlier. It was Bill Mott.
Terrific race.
Bill Mott gets it done with Harmonize. First 2 finishers, in fact, were coming out of that Belmont Oaks Invitational back in July. And Harmonize is going to be the number 7 horse. Decked Out is the number 2. And Stays in Vegas, the number 10. They're 1, 2, 3 in here. Ding Dong Battle, 3 of them right on the wire, but it does turn out to be Junior Alvarado shipping out for Bill Mott.
That's Harmonized. That's splitting horses there, and Decked Out to just to her right. This was a really good field as the 3-year-old turf fillies. I mean, almost every week. And we've got one today as well. I mean, it's been remarkable how many good races we've had with nice full fields of these sophomore fillies on the grass, and they didn't disappoint. Harmonize, Brad Free was with me on radio on Friday. Brad Free expected Harmonize to ship in and win. He had a stat. Bill Mott shipping out there, well, I think the last 5 years, 7 for 14. 7 for 14. Now 8 for 16. Pretty impressive.
No, 8 for 15. Better than a coin flip.
It was 7 for, what did I say?
7 for 14?
Oh, 7 for, okay. So, yeah. So, yes, 8 for 15. I don't know if I said 14 or 15.
So, as I say, it was better than a coin flip now on the travel out there. Del Mar Handicap Grade 2 event going 1 3/8 miles on the turf. And it's going to be Ashley Loves Sugar in here. Gary Stevens on board. 5-2 favorite. Again, Ding Dong Battle down to the wire with Metaboss. Texas Rhino runs 3rd in here. But coming off really a string of, 5 of the last 6 races. Nice triple-digit buyers for Ashley Loves Sugar. Makes sense as the favorite in here, but has to work for it.
Well, the horse that is disappointed here, look at the 4 flying. That's Metaboss. That spent a couple of months with Michael Dickinson. This is the 2nd excruciating beat in a row for Metaboss. Metaboss is a fun story. That's the horse with like 80 owners that the internet group, the Facebook fan group that put together, a bunch of people for small money, and they are having tremendous fun. He sat out almost a year, I think, and has really run very well since coming back. That was a tough beat. But Peter Yurton, who does a terrific job, very happy for him, winning the Grade 2 Del Mar Handicap. And Texas Rayeno, who was 3rd, who gets more Black Type here, he's a real blue-collar horse that invariably, over a period, he's a 5-year-old, has shown up whenever there's a California Pick 6. There's a race that Texas Rayeno's in. It's very, and there's always a horse like that. You remember Kelly Leak?
Yeah.
Kelly Leak used to be in every Pick 6 carryover in California. You couldn't have one without Kelly Leak. Very Texas Rayeno. Now watch. Now you'll start to see Texas Rayeno in all those sequences.
All right, and finally, let's bring up the highlight yesterday out in Southern California. California Chrome in the Pacific Classic, and California Chrome, the #1 horse in here. And really, you kind of knew this race was over by the time that 111 fraction came up. I mean, he was supposed to win at that point. He does. He kind of just runs away in the stretch here, running second, Beholder. So nice performance by her. Dortmund, who gave California Chrome all he could handle in the last race, winds up third. Opportunity fourth. So again, nice performance by Beholder to run second in here. But look at how far back she is. And I mean, it's just kind of a workout performance for California Chrome. Nice effort in the Pacific Classic.
And, you know, we only showed you the stretch run, and what's missing from this that you have to watch is the break. Now, here's California Chrome drawing the rail, and you know, a horse that's proven he really does not like being down amongst horses. So Victor Espinoza, all he wanted to make sure to do was break sharp and get him out. What exactly was Gary Stevens, and even more so Rafael Bejarano, thinking? What did you really expect that you were going to chase this horse with even, you know, fairly, you know, typical California fractions? You thought you were going to chase and catch him, and that was insanity. And Stevens said it point blank. He didn't want to engage early and fry himself. And then when he was watching the way Victor and California Chrome were going, he said, I can't tackle him here on the backstretch because I won't have anything left to defend for second. What was Bejarano's excuse? I mean, he was the horse who was supposed to potentially get to the lead to, make California Chrome put him off balance. Here we go. Good job. Great job. Look at that. You see Victor with the right hand come down right on the shoulder, go. And it's over. Done. You stop the film. Look at this.
And the other two are you can kind of see them settling in happily.
The potential here was going to be that whoever got out in front, and the rest, wait till you see the chart on this. 1-1-1-1-1, 2-2-2-2-2, 3-3-3-3-3, 4-4-4-4-4. It was a lazy Susan. Yeah. And the racetrack may have contributed a little bit to it, but the tactics were very strange. And I understand, but you were supposed to take advantage of California Chrome being drawn inside and pounce on him and put him off balance. Instead, you just let him waltz around. 113 buyer, which means Dortmund and Beholder ran very nice races, but we'll see what happens as we move toward the Breeders' Cup Classic. But yeesh, yeah. Kieran McLaughlin and Sheikh Mo. I think that BC Dirt Mile looking awfully attractive right now for Frosted. Holy cow!
Yeah, it was a nice performance, and what is turning out to be a nice year for him. And as you say, just a nice year overall. We saw two really special horses yesterday here at Saratoga with Songbird, out there with California Chrome. So it's a nice weekend.
Out of this world. Just every week is a treat, and the week coming up is going to be a treat because the Travers is going to be outstanding. 12, 13 horses, maybe even a full gate of 14. We'll talk about it with Lenny Shulman in a little bit. We're going to take the break. We'll come right back. Lenny's wearing a hat. A hat.
It looks good.
And not a yarmulke. Back after this. Loose on the lead and aptly named. Back.
At Capital OTB, it's Bet 100, get 100. Simply open a new Capital Bets account. Bet $100 and get $100 cash back. That's free money just in time for Saratoga. Bet 100, get 100 now at Capital OTB.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Shh. Can you hear it? It's the sound of excitement. Something we infuse into every grape that goes into our exceptional full-bodied wine. That was closer than I thought it would be. Now, if you'll excuse me. 14 hands, where great times are made.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Runs at him with 1 furlong to run. They've left flat out behind. Fort Larned digs in. Mucho Macho Man runs at him. Fort Larned, Mucho Macho Man. Fort Larned with the heart of a champion.
Here we come. Hit a home run.
We're back on Loose on the Lead. I took the lead there. I just
no,
I
absolutely.
because
I
Lenny
like
was,
that. I like the initiative.
Lenny was
Was that
talking.
your line, Seth?
No. He didn't step. We hadn't decided.
Okay.
Yeah, and the potential was for there to just be dead air. That's coming. Don't worry.
It's here right now.
Lenny Shulman is with us. This is one of the visits we always look forward to because you get shtick.
Yeah, it's right over the head.
Lenny in for Blood Horse, and of course you're just happy to have a job.
I'm here on vacation, so it really isn't about the job, and I am happy to have a job, any job. Anybody who's out there, 3-1, oh, never mind. Can text me. We'll talk about that. What a great day of racing to come up for yesterday, though, guys. I mean, I know you talked about Songbird a little bit, but, you know, Rick Porter talked to me about this filly before she even ran, and I just have a real affinity for her because I was there at the beginning, right when she broke her maiden, and I knew she was special then, and just to see what she has become is, it just gives you chills to be able to see it live, you know, and of course our thoughts are with Mr. Porter also, who's under the weather, and what a game sportsman he is. I mean, to bring that filly out here to face the best, 3,000 miles away from where she was, and to face Karina Mia and then come back and go the 1.25 miles yesterday. Wow, just fantastic stuff.
Lenny, on that topic too, because you've got the general public that has got this mania for fillies and mares that somehow they're not validated until they now face males. It's this insane, you know, from the start, literally, I think she was cooling out from the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies, and they were saying, when is she facing the boys? Will she run in the Santa Anita Derby? It's like, wait a minute. And Porter has been 100% forthcoming, saying exactly what he'd like to have happen with her, including, you know, running her at 4, taking the B. Wayne Hughes page and running her beyond 4, and there's plenty of time. But what is it? We got spoiled with Rachel and Zenyatta?
Well, Zenyatta faced the same criticism after she won the Breeders' Cup Classic. People the next year, oh, she's not running in the Hollywood Gold Cup. She's not running. Well, she already beat every horse in the Hollywood Gold Cup in the Classic the year before. So, yeah, Zenyatta faced that same, even having won the Classic, she faced the same thing. And Porter has been consistent about it. Next year, somebody asked me yesterday, hey, is she going to the Breeders' Cup Classic? No, she's not going to the Breeders' Cup Classic. You know, he's stuck to his guns. When you change your plans, that's when you get trouble. Yeah. That's when trouble's right around the corner.
That's a good point.
So give Porter all the credit. Knock on wood, you know, unfortunately they can go wrong at any time, but she comes back again next year. I think you'll see a much more aggressive campaign. And you're absolutely right. There is no validation needed here. She doesn't need to beat the boys this year. She needs to do what she's been doing. And if you can't appreciate what this filly is, it's sorry for you, because this is a spectacular racehorse.
And you talk about being kind of tipped on the horse, so to speak, before the horse ran. Did they? It's hard to envision this, but were they envisioning this was going to be a very special filly?
They did, and I know you.
Well, we got McGreevy.
You might have Mr. McGreevy coming on, who is one of the most gifted bloodstock agents there is. I mean, yeah, they paid $400,000, but you know that's looking like a pretty good bargain at this point. He sent a few horses out to California, what was it? America was the other one. There were a few.
Kentuckian.
I'm sorry, Kentuckian, and there was another one. And they were all well meant, and the other two really didn't go on the way they thought they would. But this one kind of, in typical thoroughbred fashion, makes up for the ones that didn't. So yeah, they were really high on all of those.
Lenny, the opportunity to be here, and we talked even last year, I think you just had bought a property here, and at some point you might actually live in it. But you're here for the...
I'm waiting for you to leave town. That's what I want.
Listen, a lot of people, that could happen any moment. You'll be around for Travers. We'll talk about what's coming next week, but I do want to ask you about the latest horse named after Lenny Shulman. And, of course, Lefty Lenny's pulling an ice wagon.
Lefty Lenny, a big winner at Beulah and Thistletown, I believe, were his 2 wins. And then we had Lefty Lenny, the legend.
That's right.
Who ran in the same maiden race as Animal Kingdom at Keeneland. Animal Kingdom won the race. Lefty Lenny, the legend, ran 14th. But in happy news, became a champion jumper. Won ribbons at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, Eric Reed's daughter had her for a while.
Oh, how nice.
And so we're kind of 2 for 2. And now the latest one is Doggone Lenny, who Doug O'Neill has out in California. He's a 2-year-old ready to make his first start. He's a colt by the Factor. And not that this factored into it, but the dam's name is sarcastic. Now, I'm the last thing from being a sarcastic person, but I guess somebody may have thought differently. So look for Doggone Lenny. Should be starting at Del Mar within the next week.
They picked out a Factor colt because, of course, you write a lot of one-liners for Bill O'Reilly.
That's right. That's right. Have you seen that Hillary Clinton there with Bill O'Reilly in it? It's like an anti-Trump ad. And they have Trump saying something, and they cut to Bill O'Reilly going, That's actually a very good spot.
No, the Factor is going to be
win
a big
early.
hit.
Win early,
absolutely.
Sire, it looks like, and they're very high. Doug's very high on it. And even Dennis O'Neill, who didn't pick the horse out, says, he's okay. So when Dennis says that about one he doesn't pick out,
go to the
windows. Go to the windows.
Hopefully the high point isn't who wins the race he runs last in.
That's right.
That isn't the resume highlight.
There could be a Derby winner, and they're coming out of that race, though. So pay attention to that maiden special weight coming up at Del Mar. And by the way, they also named one Haskin at the same time, who's a Union Rag, so apparently is. He's a 2-turn horse, as they say.
Like Haskin. like Haskin.
Like Haskin.
He's slow out of the gate, and then needs the. Although you should have seen him here. You missed. Where were you, by the way, for Haskin Palooza?
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy for him, and so pleased, and was so pleased to be able to write a column about it in the Blood Horse. And if anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as a journalist, it's that man, and God bless him. It's a great honor and so well deserved for him. But well, let's face it, he doesn't move around very well, and neither does the horse named after him.
I'll tell you, he moved around the buffet at the Friedbergs very, very well. There was you check with Avi and Rhoda Friedberg. They took out a loan.
The smoked fish disappeared like dog crap left out in the rain. Yeah, but I'll tell you, he's found a good thing over at the Freebirds there. He speaks very highly, and with good reason. It's a lovely landing spot on Fifth Avenue. We're going to do a story in the Blood Horse, by the way, next year for Saratoga about all the horse people who live on Fifth Avenue, because it's
backing up to the Oklahoma.
The Freebirds, of course, are owners. I think they have horses with Linda Rice. Saul Kuhlman has just bought a place.
Well, he owns every horse on the Oklahoma.
But only one house so far. But
it's early yet. Brad Weisberg is picking out houses for him that he's offering right now, actually. Brad took out a real estate license, in fact, to sell houses to Saul Kuhlman.
I think Kenny McPeak is on the strip
I think McPeak, he took the money. He's at Arcana right now, picking out horses at Arcana. I think that's over. I think he went already.
Did they sell that cheaply there? I didn't realize that. And then Jack Wolf, I believe, is on fifth. It's an amazing little avenue. It is. It's a who's who. Yeah, it's a little too rich for me, or else I'd be looking. But
you're in Stillwater.
I am in Stillwater. We run deep in Stillwater.
You're part of the who's who in Stillwater.
I chased Skip Dixie right out of the neighborhood. Boom, 1 year, gone.
I can't wait for you and the Stewarts on the corner to come in for a coffee in the morning.
Right. That's right.
Speaking of a who's who, we got a who's who assembling for next Saturday because this Travers, fascinating, and one of your favorite subjects, and a guy that you can't get enough of, Eric Gio, the amazing and the quote machine, as it were, with Leoban, and from every account, Leoban out of the Jim Dandy smashingly, and one of the things that's interesting about the way this Travers is shaping up, and for right now, Exaggerator, Destin, Leoban, Creator, who had his last work this morning, Gunrunner, American Freedom, and Arrogate. They'll be here Wednesday for Baffert, or maybe Tuesday. 3, it looks like, from Chad Brown, as many as 3. Connect and Giftbox, certainly, maybe My Man Sam as well. And then Governor Malibu and Mohayman. So there's, I think, 13 right there. And that's about as terrific a cast as you're going to put together.
And as full of feel as I can remember for Travers recently. And getting back to Gio, the quote machine, what was the line coming out of the work yesterday? He worked like a beaver building a dam on the Mississippi on amphetamines or something. I think that was the Gio quote yesterday. But don't go to sleep on this horse because he is getting better. People just want to say, oh, he's a maiden, he's a maiden. Well, he was a maiden for a long time, but he was also a maiden who was running in the Preakness and the Toyota Bluegrass and running representatively in those races. And he didn't look like he was backing off in the Jim Dandy at all. And if we get a California Chrome scenario where they let him go next week, look out.
But one of the interesting things about the way this race is going to shape up is going to be that pace scenario, because Leoban, Gio has made it very clear that he does not have to have the lead. This is not Moreno. This is not a runoff type that if he doesn't get the lead, he's finished. This is a horse that is free running, and
he will get the lead.
He'll get the lead.
Yeah, I mean, Eric can say whatever Eric wants to say. Maybe he doesn't need the lead, but I would be very surprised if they don't make an effort to put him on the lead. And yeah, with Baffert's horse in there, it could be tough going for him there. But if you lose American Freedom out of there, I say Leoban hits the board. I wouldn't go to sleep on him just thinking that the Jim Dandy was a fluke. I don't think it was. This horse has run well, and people who have seen the last 2 works are gaga over it. He's clearly improving.
And we should mention the only name that's missing there, Nyquist, and it looks like Pennsylvania Derby for Nyquist.
At least for now. And speaking of the Pennsylvania Derby, sudden Sam Elliott on the grounds at Saratoga. You're looking at me blankly. Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott.
Win Elliott.
The racing secretary at Parks.
Yes. No, Nyquist is being appointed to the Pennsylvania.
He is, and we'll see what happens if they get all 3. If Creator, Exaggerator, and Nyquist all assemble for Pennsylvania Derby, purse goes to $1.5 million. So Elliott's been out pressing the flesh, as it were. But you're talking American Freedom. You're forgetting about Arrogate, the Juddmonte, and then both of the horses of Chad Brown's coming out of that Curlin, and Connect's another horse that was on the front end in the Curlin, but he's another horse that doesn't have to have the lead by any means. I mean, he'll be just as happy sitting behind Speed. I mean, this is going to be wildly entertaining.
This will be great, and a 48-1 shot to win the race.
We're waiting for some definition in that 3-year-old division. Yeah, you're probably right. It's not going to happen.
And Governor Malibu, who kind of disappointed me a little last time, because I thought the trouble. I thought he was going to be 3rd in the Belmont.
He ran well.
He ran very well. Got cut off at the rail, but wasn't thrilled. The race back. But he might be a nice horse that people are sleeping on. Also, and if we can move to the undercard for a second, Lady Eli. This crowd that was out here yesterday, traffic was backed up to the Northway yesterday at post time, and I can tell you that because I was in it. To see Songbird, I've never seen a non-Travers Saturday be like it was yesterday. And I think people are going to come out, of course they come out for the charge of Lady Eli, who is apparently training better than she has ever trained before. And I've heard this from multiple people, including people who are running against her in that race. Pete Bradley has a filly in that race who used to be with Chad Brown, who is now running for Brad Cox. And it's going to be a big launch at 15-1. Pete thinks she's going to hit in the exacta, but he said that Lady Eli is not going to be beat the way she's trained. So off since July 4th of a year ago, another undefeated superstar just like Songbird, and it is going to be spectacular to be able to see her run again. Coming back from a terrible disease of laminitis.
Two races from Songbird, former champ, future champ, Flintshire, who was phenomenal. But the story of the meet is going to be Lady Eli.
Yeah. So it is going to be what another Saturday. And you're right, Steve. I mean, every single weekend there's been spectacular horses and spectacular racing here.
Amazing.
And we even thought we'd have Tepin for a second there, but
we have her stablemate later today. Catch a glimpse, of course, in the Lake Placid. We have to hope that this weather that apparently is bearing down on us holds off and doesn't affect the turf, because it's a nice lineup. This is not a slam dunk for Catch a Glimpse at all. Time in Motion for one of your favorite outfits, the Jimmy Toner barn, and the Phillips family involved, and our friends the Pettigrews that are back in again from Nebraska, professional artists Dell and Martha Pettigrew. And they've got the Jonathan Shepard. Shepard needs his win. Outsider Art. And Outsider Art puts the blinkers on. Hopefully she'll be a little closer. Kind of a high-strung filly. She melted down at Churchill before the Edgewood just was unnerved by the 150,000. I can't blame her. Yeah. But a very good lineup. There's also Chad. Chad's got another 7 horses in the race as well. Lisa's World, and Martin Schwartz has got 4 or 5 imports. So it should be quite good.
What a Martin Short. What a job Michelle Zarella does getting horses in Europe for him. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And also, you feel for Jimmy Toner with Recepta going down. It was just all heart, for being a little filly like that. So we wish that outfit the best with Time in Motion.
We wish Lenny Shulman the best, and happy that Lenny's going to be on.
I'm melting down here, by the way.
A little bit, little schwitzerdick under the heat lamps. At least you got a tan. At least you got a little color.
I was sitting with you in the winner's circle. That's where I got my color from yesterday. Steve said, I have work to do. What am I talking to you for? I don't know. Go do your work. What do you want from me? 2 races later, he's still in it.
Lenny Shulman, everybody. Always a pleasure. Follow him on Twitter, although you're useless. We're still waiting for that.
My 11th follower on Twitter. I hit double figures. Come on, Seth, join us.
We're still waiting for that first tweet. It'll be monumental.
Yeah, it'll be from you telling me to check it on Nyquist's broken leg like you did on Derby Day. You alpaca, you.
Unbelievable. We're going to take a break. We need one. You do too. Come right back, though. We've got Tom McGreevy. Really looking forward to talking about Tom's approach to bloodstock. He's been picking out absolute home runs for Rick Porter for 10 years plus. We'll talk about his approach because it's a little different. Not pedigree oriented. It's strictly on the individual, on the physical. We'll talk about it with Tom McGreevy. Picked out Songbird next on Loose on the Lead.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, OTB TV is the Capital Region's choice for the most comprehensive and informative coverage of thoroughbred and harness racing. OTB TV is the only area network delivering a steady viewership, reaching more than 540,000 households throughout the broadcast day and into the evening. Capital OTB's digital presence also plays a tremendous part in getting your message in front of potential customers. With more and more wagering moving to online, CapitalOTB.com can put your message in front of thousands of potential customers 24 hours a day. And with the addition of our new mobile app, new customers will see your message on all their digital devices. To see how affordably you can reach thousands of new customers, contact Capital OTB's Sales and Marketing Department today.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Cassat. We're back on Loose on the Lead on this sultry Sunday morning at Saratoga, the morning after the Alabama, the second appearance of Songbird this summer at the Spa. A real treat for horse players and for fans that have come out really in both settings. There would be no Songbird. I mean, she might be in another barn under another name if it wasn't for Tom McGreevy, bloodstock agent and pretty exclusive, it's fair to say. Exclusive.
Oh, yeah, I buy exclusively for Rick.
Yeah, for Rick Porter, 10 years?
About 10 years, yeah. I also bought for him, and not on a regular basis, but I also bought horses for him. Like, the first horse I bought for him was a filly called Zonk.
Oh, yeah.
And I met Rick through John Service. John Service and I were very good friends. And matter of fact, I trained at Penn National for a number of years, and when I was training up there, John Service was actually Jock's agent.
That's right.
And we got to know each other then, and we've been friends ever since. And John's just a great guy. And so how I met Rick was through John Service. And so I had met Rick one time, and I was at the Keeneland sale, and it was later in the sale, and I'd already purchased some horses for some clients I already had. And I saw this filly. He was very late in the sale. I called John. I said, John, you need to get your guy to buy this horse. And so he called him, and Rick called me, and we chatted a little bit, and we were on the phone with him, and he bought her. It turned out to be Zonk. We bought her for $70,000. She was an Moldova Graded Stakes winner. So that kind of set the stage, and from there on.
How did you transition out of being a trainer into the bloodstock game?
Well, I had a lot of background in horses. I grew up with horses, and I always thought that was very fascinating to try to figure out that puzzle. What makes a good horse, and where you find them, and what really helped me along the way, I graduated from Penn State in animal science. And while I was at Penn State, I was on the livestock judging team. And a lot of people don't realize they exist, but they do. Sure. And it was very competitive just to get on the team. And then we judged a lot of different, like in the Big Ten, there's a lot of contests, and we judged the Quarter Horse International Kansas City, a lot of different shows. But what you had to do there was, in the morning you had 12 different classes of animals. We judged anything from pigs to cattle to sheep. And you had 4 individuals in each class, and you placed them 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the afternoon you had to go give an official judge why you liked them the way you just couldn't go in and say, this is a pretty horse. So you had most of the time go in there and say, I like this horse because of these attributes, and I followed him for these attributes. So it helped you develop your eye. You had to really study him and pick out, because I hear so many people, I really like this horse, but you have to have a reason.
You made the animal judging team. You fell short with Joe Paterno and the Nittany Lions as a kicker.
Yeah, there was a little story there.
A barefoot kicker.
Yeah. I was in the Army before I went to Penn State. I was in Vietnam for a year. And I kicked there. And so I went to junior college for 2 years. And I always wanted to kick for Penn State. And at that time, I got back from Vietnam in 1968. Wow. And I went to York College for 2 years. Okay. But I practiced. My objective was to go to Penn State and be a kicker, because at that time Penn State didn't have many kickers. So the first day I transferred there my junior year, and the first day on campus I went and knocked on Paterno's door and said, I want to be a kicker. And he looked at me and he said, we already have a few kickers. I don't think, I said, Coach, I've been practicing for 2 years. Give me a shot. So he said, okay, come on down. So I went down to the practice field the next day and would introduce the kicking coach. And I kicked for him, and another coach gave me a kick from him. Pretty soon the whole coaching staff was there watching me kick. And I was really kicking really well this day. So they finally called Paterno over, and everybody's watching me kick, and I'm kicking. And I think I was kicking for like 35 yards, and he came over to me and said, okay, Tom, we're going to back you up 10 yards, and if you don't make this one, you're not going to make the team. And it's the best one I hit all day, right down the middle. He said, hey, you're as good as anybody we got. Come on back. Well, unfortunately for me, Chris Barr was the same year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Chris Barr showed up.
Yeah, Chris Barr. And
That's funny.
He was also on a scholarship there for soccer. He already had a soccer scholarship.
Wow.
So, and he beat me out. But it was one of those things. If I didn't try, I would have been really disappointed myself.
At least you tried.
Yeah. So it was a great experience, and it's one of those things that, I should have done this, or I should have at least tried this.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. Yeah.
Too funny. Well, take us from the animal judging, and I'll mention to everybody, if you're in town for this now, for Travers Week, we transition as of tomorrow, Monday, up in Washington County in Greenwich. We got the Washington County Fair, one of the longest continually run agricultural shows in the country, and lots of
maybe they have livestock judging.
Absolutely, you bet they got livestock judging. So come out to tomorrow, starting tomorrow, the wonderful fair at Greenwich. And in terms of your approach, because it's different, you don't care about pedigree per se. You don't look for siblings and this and the going back on the pages. You like the physical properties of a horse.
Right. To me, the pedigree is just going to tell you pretty much what they're going to cost, from my opinion. And what I do, I go and I make my short list, and I always do it by myself. I just have my approach, and I just do it. And when Rick and I go look at our short list, it's usually pretty short. For instance, I'll give you an idea. Like at Keeneland, I'd say the first book, which is the first 4 days, I may have 10 or 12 on there, or something like that. And then we'll go look at them together. And Rick's very astute too about looking at individuals and what we like. And he has all the input, most of the input on the pedigrees and the price, So after we chat that about. But there are certain situations where if they don't meet his criteria for pedigree, I say, Rick, you need to put your hand up on this one.
Is that how you come up with the short list, though? Pedigree kind of starts things, and then you go to physicality?
No.
How do you put the short list together?
It's all physical.
So you come to a sale, and there's 200 horses. Do you look at all of them?
3,000 at Keeneland.
Keeneland. What I do at Keeneland is, the first book, I get there early enough where I can pull everything out and look at individuals. But after that, I have a little different approach, and most people were kind of shaking their head when I did, but I just do what I call stall search. I know what I'm looking for and the profile I need, and I'll just go and look in the stall. As a matter of fact, I'll go to say TaylorMade, and TaylorMade will send a guy with me, and they'll just give me a profile on the back wall. Don't bring them out, don't hook them up. And in 5 seconds, I say I have my card. Yes, no, yes, no. That way, I don't have anybody shortlisting for me. Not that there aren't a lot of qualified people out there, but I just want to make my own mistakes. I don't want to make somebody else's mistakes too.
You're looking for behavior and body language?
At that point, I'm looking for the individual.
I mean, but even in the stall, you don't need to see them walk. You don't.
Oh no, I'm just let me finish. So I make say if TaylorMade maybe have a whole barn, they have 40 horses there. Once I go down and do the stall search, I may have 5 horses that I'll bring out and evaluate those. Those are the ones I want to see. I'm just eliminating horses I don't want to see that way.
In terms of a couple of and I don't want to steal the secret sauce,
but first of all, there is no secret.
Okay,
there is no secret.
They all just something pops. I mean, how much of it is is the confirmation definitions and angles?
I think most everybody that has, there's a lot of really astute bloodstock agents out there know what they're looking for. Everybody looks pretty much the same thing, but it's just there's such a fine line between the good horses and the really good horses. And I think it even gets finer between the really good horses and the great horses. So to try to decipher that line and what pushes them over one way or the other is a real puzzle.
Let's talk about the line with Songbird. Let's watch the stretch run from the Alabama
Yeah, I'd like
yesterday.
to see that again.
We haven't watched that yet. And question mark was 1.25 miles. She passed that test with flying colors. Talk about picking her out earlier, in the sale.
The good ones like her are easy. And when you have to go and try to scratch your head, is this the right one? You're on the wrong horse. Horses like her, when you see them, they're easy. I just marked, okay, we're going to go, we'll try to buy this one.
And she was up here, right?
She was at Saratoga, yeah. And to Rick's credit and our credit, I think that she was $400,000, but in that playground up there, that was about the average price for a Medallion d'Or filly with that kind of pedigree. I mean, it wasn't anything exaggerated, but and there is intangibles that you look at. I pay a lot of attention to their demeanor and how they handle the sale, and people don't understand that that's a lot of pressure for these young horses sometimes, especially at Keeneland. There's so much activity, and so the good horses figure that out very quickly. That situation. Every good horse I bought, and they bring them out and they show well. They're not, I see these horses that, some horses that all they can see is this little box they're in. And you get horses like Songbird, they have all this figured out, all this stuff around. They're looking down to the next barn to see what's going on. But the other horses, that's all they can see, that little box they're in. So they talk about local eagles. To me, that's the local eagles that they figure they figure all this situation out here. They're looking for something else to attract.
To keep their minds occupied. And out of curiosity, when you talk about especially book one or select sales, do you go back a couple different times during the day? Because if you see them in the morning before they've been shown 75 times, I mean, they talked about the sale topper here at Saratoga, and was shown 280 times, right. And there's a point in the afternoon where they start to get just surly if they don't have the demeanor.
Well, I think it's a little different here at Saratoga. There's just so few horses, and there's so many days to look at. At Keeneland's a different ballgame.
Yeah, bang.
And what I do, I make my short list, say on Monday, and the first thing the next day on Tuesday, the first thing I do is go look at my short list again, because I get a fresh eye, a fresh horse, and you might see something different. And I give them they were maybe just a little bit on the edge or something. Give them a chance to set a win one day. But I think it's so important to go that next day and look at my short list and see if there's anything, because I get tired too at the end of the day after you look at all those horses, and there may have missed something or so. And so I do get a lot clearer picture sometimes the next day. But again, like I say, if you got to study them too much and try to scratch your head. Is this the right horse? Am I the right? You need to
pass. Yeah. And not to use the trite tick all the boxes, but it does have to hit you at a certain level.
Yeah, and there's so many. I think there's so many intangibles that put that horse over that fine line. And to me, it's their demeanor, how they handle it. I mean, if you go back there and watch Songbird, she is just so professional in everything she does. She handles the pressure, and you have to. I mean, you see her in the paddock. I mean, if they walk in there like, I'm good. This is what I got. What you got?
Yeah. The budgetary portion of this, when it comes, and Porter's fascinating, because it's always a range of about $250 to $400. That seems, whenever I see it, and usually there's an unbridled song or two in there.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success on unbridled songs, but we don't. If people think we're going to look for them, and then now they say, well, you're just buying Tappets. Well, they just happen to fit in that pattern we're looking for.
You were on Tappet early, though.
Yeah, we bought Cassad, who, we bought, I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, we bought a number of Tappets pretty early.
You talk about Saratoga, you talk about Keeneland. What other sales do you go to during the year?
Well, those are the two main ones. And then we go to Timonian, the sales there. And we bought horses at the 2-year-old sales too. We bought Norman Invasion at the 2-year-old sale. We bought Joyful Victory at the 2-year-old sale. So we concentrate mostly, I would much rather buy at the yearling sales, because I think that I'm willing, like a lot of people, willing to go out there and beat the bushes a little harder. But you have to look at the 2-year-old sales, because there's so many good horses that come through there that you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go look. And like I said, we bought Norman Invasion for like $220, I think. We bought Joyful Victory, I think, for, I don't know, it was $350 or $400, something like that.
And we should mention, it goes beyond Songbird. As you sat down, we were kind of going through the list, and we'll pull up another Saratoga performance of a horse that is due to you. Havre de Grace here in the Woodward from a few years back. Nice performance, beating the boys in there. Talk a little bit about her, and we'll mention some of the other nice horses you picked up from Mr. Porter.
Havre de Grace is one of those must-have type horses. I mean, when Rick got to, I start looking on Friday, the first day of the show, and Rick usually gets there on Sunday. And this was the first horse I showed him, and it was one of those must-haves. I mean, and we don't, Rick is more on pedigree, and this was St. Liam, was the first-year sire, and he's a little bit leery as far as paying much for a first-year sire, but she was just so gorgeous, and she just stood out, and I think we paid, what was it, $360 or something like that for her.
And then sold at the
$10
million that made up for any mistakes elsewhere.
That will cover some sins.
And It's funny that we bring up Havre de Grace, and I think about Round Pond as well, who was a personal favorite. Hardspun was before you?
I did not buy Hardspun. There was one year in there when I wasn't working for Rick full time, and this one year my brothers wanted to buy some horses, and Rick and I talked, and I said, I can help you out some, because I wasn't working for him exclusively at that time. And he said, that's fine, he understood, and so I did not buy. But at that same sale, I did buy Midnight Loot for my brothers.
And you've actually got, we were talking yesterday, you have a wonderful Midnight Loot story because you were convinced Real Quiet was, was being a bit of a washout as a stallion at the time, had been shipped to Pennsylvania. Right. Talk about the Midnight Loot story.
Well, here's a typical, individual versus pedigree type situation. He was hip, I can still remember, he was hip 3,600 something at Keeneland, so he was in book 5 or 6, whatever it is. But I thought he was a standout, and like you say, he was by Real Quiet, who had shipped to Pennsylvania, was dead in the water. Nobody wanted Real Quiet. And the mayor at the time hasn't done anything. And so I told my brothers, I called him, I saw him the day before, I called him and said, we're buying this horse. And I think we bought him for, I think it was 70,000. And so we took him to Pinhook, and we took and gave him to Eddie Woods, and Eddie did a great job with him. And I mean, all along, he was just so impressive. So we got the 2-year-old sale, maybe I'm bullheaded or whatever, but I think sometimes when you believe in what you see, you have to state it. Like I tell Rick, if I don't give you my opinion, it's not worth anything. I mean, I'm going to be wrong sometimes, but you have to voice your opinion. And I love this horse, and I told Eddie when we got the sale, he worked in 22 flat, which was, so-so. But he could put a lot of 22s together, what he could do.
Exactly.
And so I told Eddie, I said, I made up my mind. I told my brother, we're not selling for less than 300. Everybody thought I was crazy with his pedigree and stuff and the way it worked, but actually he attracted a lot of attention that day at the sale. I believe he was bet at 9 or 10 times by the right people, and he passed, but nobody was willing to step up and pay that for him. I bought him back. My brothers bought him back. My brothers were Mark and Dan, and they bought him back they weren't there, but I bought him back in their part. I think it was $280. And we took him back to Eddie Woods' place, and Bob Baffert called 3 or 4 days later and said he saw the video. He wasn't at the sale, but he saw the video, and he wanted to buy the horse. And I said, well, that's the price. And to Bob's credit, he said he loved the video.
Unbelievable.
He loved the video, and he bought him. And of course, if I'd known he was going to be, a champion sprinter and won 2 Breeders' Cups, I may not sell him for $300, but at the time it was a lot of money for a Real Quiet. And
amazing.
So there's a typical thing about pedigree, that it doesn't always dictate what the horse can do.
And as a corollary to that, I had this discussion with John Secura 2 weeks ago ahead of the Saratoga sale, because Midnight Loot is grinding out horses as a stallion, and as Baffert has said, and Secura tries to remind people, Baffert has always said if it wasn't for the breathing issue, he would have been a 1 1/8 or a classic distance horse. And given his size and proportion, he's getting big, beautiful horses of all kinds. And he's standing at Hillendale and is a real consistent success commercially and for those that are breeding to race. To me, it's a great story. It's also a great testimony to the way you approach things. And Baffert, same kind of storyline, and went to his big client, to Mike Pegram, and said, we got a winner here.
Yeah. And he had he had the throat surgeries, and a lot of the times those throat surgeries can be successful, but a lot of horses can't handle it mentally.
Yep.
Once they realize they can't get air one time, that they have
scared.
But he had such a great demeanor about him, and he was like the race at Monmouth we talked about the other day. That race at Monmouth when he won the Breeders' Cup was
unbelievable.
Was one of those that just give you chills.
On a track and a sea of slop, and just was
and I think there's
unbelievable.
another point there to be made that he was never bred to be a sprinter. He never looked like a sprinter. But those great horses, and he was a great horse, they can do anything. You can put Songbird out there in a 5 furlong stake, and she's going to win it. Or you can put her in a 1 1/4 race, she's going to win it. Because those really great horses can do anything.
Catch a glimpse today. She's another example. Everybody was like, "Oh, how's she going to stretch out to a 1 1/4 in the Belmont Oaks?" with ease.
Because she's good.
Yeah. And people forget the fractions are only going to be slower early when you stretch out like that, and makes it even easier for a horse like that. Yeah. And same thing with, although yesterday Songbird, I thought Jerry Hollendorfer's quote yesterday was really, there was a lot more to that quote when he said she makes it look so easy, but it's not. And if you go back to the Oaks, she was wobbly with a little bit of heat at the end of that race, and you can see it looks like she's not putting in an effort, but she exudes her effort. I mean, she leaves it on the racetrack.
Well, I think another thing that's amazing about her, she never changes her way of going. You see the other horses get tired, they kind of lose their action. She never loses her action. She's just the same all the time. And I think what makes her so great is how she moves so efficiently. I mean, she's just so efficient in her movement. And
legs under her.
Yeah, they just the same rhythm, and they breathe in the same rhythm as they move, and that's what those horses can go that distance. They just have that rhythmic movement, and they breathe in the same way. You got these horses that have a lot of wasted action. Something they may be sprinters, but I don't think they're going to go 2 turns because they just have too much wasted action.
I also have to ask, because I ask everything, all the connections, the owners, trainers, jockeys, bloodstock agents. But how much fun is it to win a race like that up at Saratoga, be sitting in the stands? And then the fans up here are so savvy, and Mike takes the horse down to the top of the stretch and comes back, applause all the way. That's got to be special.
I know Jerry and I were standing together, and I said, Jerry, just listen to this. It brings a tear to your eye.
Yeah. It's special up there. All right, time to wrap things up, yes?
I hope you were taking notes, because you got one of the best in the business.
And let me tell you, there's no secret. So
the secret
it sounds like the secret is just a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it is. It's an experience. One thing I want to add on this is that, the judging team. But one thing I did, I moved to Florida 30 years ago. I gave up my training out there in Penn National, moved down there. And one of the things I did every day, I'd go look at every good horse I could find. I was at Gulfstream. I was close to Gulfstream.
Interesting.
So I just go watch them in the paddock every time I could see a good horse. So my opinion, if you don't know what the end product looks like, it's pretty hard to find.
That is pretty interesting, because I always say to people, don't throw away your past performances at the end of the day, because then you know who won the races, so you can go back and kind of reverse engineer. And that's the same thing. If you're getting into the game, look at the champions, and then you know what a champion should look like.
Exactly. If you don't know what to look like, it's like somebody tells somebody, go out there and find me a pine tree. If they've never seen a pine tree, how are they going to find it?
Very good.
That may be a little simplistic.
No, I like that. I like that.
All right, Tom McGreevy, the bloodstock agent that pulled down Songbird and many, many other champions for Fox Hill Farms, and Rick Porter. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good luck going forward. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Seth Merrow from EquiDaily.com, Steve Byk from Sirius and XM's At the Races. We're running late, but we've run late every week so far because we're jam-packed up here.
We just can't tear ourselves away.
And next week, post-Travers conversation should be a lot of fun. Big week coming up, of course. Big day here at the track as well. Looks like the weather may hold up. We'll hold off. We'll keep our fingers crossed as far as that. But we're going to wrap things up for this Sunday morning. Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. looseonthelead@yahoo.com. You can also swing over and visit the Facebook page. As I say, questions, comments, or suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're here every Sunday morning from 10 until 11 a.m. We'll wrap it up for this week. Enjoy the races this afternoon. We'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.